News.com.
ये जरूरी है कहना कि मैं यहां क्या कर रहा हूं और ये यहां मैं क्यों हूं। तो इसका जवाब बहुत ही सरल है, साधारण है। मेरा यहां बिल्कुल होना बनता है और मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं क्यों। जब 8 फिल्म हीरोइंस ने इनकार कर दिया था दैट दे वुड नॉट वांट टू डू द रोल ऑफ टीना इन कुछ कुछ होता है, फाइनली आयरॉनिकली और बहुत ही सरप्राइजिंगली आदित्य चोपड़ा ने मुझे रेकमेंड किया कि आप एक ट्रेलर देखें। एक लड़की है एक फिल्म में, राजा की आएगी बारात, उसमें एक खूबसूरती है, एक अदा है। तो मैंने देख लिया, वो बहुत अच्छी थी, तो मैं गया मिलने और मेरे साथ मेरे एसोसिएट डायरेक्टर थे कुछ कुछ होता है कि निखिल अडवाणी। तो हम दोनों गए थे रानी के घर और ऑफ कोर्स नरेशन बहुत ही मैंने पैशनेटली दिया और हम यही चाहते थे कि रानी हाँ कहे और इवेंचुअली रानी डिड डू द फिल्म। बट आई विल नेवर फॉरगेट दैट आफ्टरनून जहां निखिल मेरे साथ था और रानी भी वहीं थी और कुछ कुछ होता है बन गई। और फिर जब मैं ये पोस्टर देखता हूं जहां नाम है निखिल अडवाणी का, एमए एंटरटेनमेंट का, और रानी है इस पोस्टर पे, तो मुझे 25 साल पहले वाली बात याद आ जाती है। एंड दे से दैट लाइफ कंप्लीट्स अ फुल सर्कल, इट डज। दूसरा मेरा कारण, 2 और नाम है निखिल के साथ जुड़े हुए, मधु भोजवानी और मोनिशा अडवाणी जो निखिल की बहन है। अब हम तीनों का क्या रिश्ता है ये जानना भी जरूरी है। हम तीनों एक ही स्कूल गए थे और मैं बहुत गर्व के साथ ये कहना चाहूंगा कि मैं उनसे छोटा हूं और ये हम तीनों बहुत ही एक दूसरे के करीबी हैं और स्कूल, ये हम कह सकते हैं कि हम एक दूसरों को 40 साल से जानते हैं। रानी की शुरुआत इस इंडस्ट्री में ऑफ कोर्स कुछ कुछ होता है से पहले हुई थी, लेकिन मुझे बहुत इमोशनली लगता है कि कुछ कुछ होता है जैसी रानी की पहली फिल्म। और इसीलिए मधु, मोनिशा, निखिल और रानी ने ये खूबसूरत फिल्म जब बनाई तो थैंकफुली दे शोड इट टू मी फर्स्ट। अब मैं आपको क्या कहूं, आप खुद 17 मार्च को ये फिल्म देखने वाले हैं, लेकिन मेरे आंसू इस फिल्म में रुके नहीं सकते, वो बहने लगे, बिकॉज दिस फिल्म कनेक्ट्स टू यू लाइक नो अदर। चाहे आप पेरेंट हो या ना हो, दिस फिल्म विल मूव यू लाइक नो फिल्म हैज इन द रीसेंट टाइम्स। Mrs. Chatterjee Vs Norway is not just a fight of a mother against a nation. It's actually a fight for humanity. And that's what this film does in beautiful abundance. I have never seen Rani perform from her gut. So congratulations, Ashima, who sits right here, for directing this film with such nuance, such beauty. Congratulations to M.A. for producing this brave, brave, brave story. Congratulations to Z for supporting their vision. But I have to say, if there is a tour de force, if there is truly a defining performance of our times, जो आप गर्व से मैं कह सकता हूं कि ऐसी फाइन और बेहतरीन परफॉर्मेंस आपने बहुत सालों से नहीं देखी, वो रानी मुखर्जी की परफॉर्मेंस है एज मिसेस चैटर्जी। और आज मेरे लिए सौभाग्य की बात है कि मैं इस मंच पे खड़ा हूं और इन सब आज जो बहुत दिग्गज पर्सनालिटीज फिल्म इंडस्ट्री के बन गए हैं और मेरे दिल के इतने करीब हैं, आई वुड लाइक टू फर्स्ट इनवाइट निखिल अडवाणी ऑन स्टेज। And now the time and the moment when she says कि मैं नहीं जानती कि मैं अच्छी मां हूं या बुरी मां हूं, लेकिन मैं मां हूं. The way this artist has delivered that line, I don't know anyone who could have done it with the nuance, with the emotion, with the subtlety and the power. Give it up for Rani Mukerji, ladies and gentlemen. हमारा भी रिश्ता कुछ यूनिक सा है। वो पहली जब बचपन में मैं हर एक को तो मैं भी जवान था उन दिनों में, तो बहन थी, फिर भाभी बन गई, तो हमारा भी सफर कुछ यूनिक।
तुम्हारी माँ नहीं बनूंगी।
नहीं, माँ नहीं, मेरी माँ, मेरे 2 बच्चे हैं जो आपकी बेटी की बहुत करीब हैं। हम चाहते कि आप कहाँ बैठना चाहेंगी?
जहाँ पर भी आप बोले।
स्टूडियो आपका है, आप बताइए, मालकिन तो आप है।
कहाँ बैठू बोलो? आपका
एक तो मुझे लगता है कि वो चाहते कि मैं खड़े रहूं।
आपका जो फेसिंग है,
मेरा फेसिंग, मेरा प्रोफाइल।
हाँ, प्रोफाइल।
नहीं, वो तो उसके लिए आपके लिए तो बहुत कुछ सैक्रिफाइस कर लूंगा, अपना प्रोफाइल भी, और जो कर रहा हूं मैं, बाय द वे।
नमस्ते आप सब लोगों को। थैंक यू फॉर कमिंग एवरीबडी, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
So, ladies and gentlemen, I have Nikkhil Advani and Rani Mukherjee with us in probably Rani's first conversation about Mrs. Chatterjee Vs Norway. Now, पहला मेरा ये सवाल है, बहुत सवाल है जो शायद बहुत से मेरे जो मीडिया के दोस्त हैं, और मैं आई कंसिडर माई सेल्फ अ मेंबर ऑफ द मीडिया माई सेल्फ, ये पूछना चाहेंगे, ये पहली फिल्म है आपकी बहुत सालों में जिसपे वाईआरएफ का लोगो नहीं है, ये कैसे हुआ?
तो जनवरी का मंथ था 2021 और 2020 पैंडेमिक 21। तो निखिल का फोन आया and I was little shocked because Nikkhil normally we don't talk with each other on the phone. We've bumped into each other many a times. हम बहुत बार मिले, कभी ऑस्ट्रेलिया में मिले, कभी कोई फिल्म फेस्टिवल में मिले, और ऐसे मतलब मिलते रहते थे, but we're not really in touch on the phone. तो निखिल का जब फोन आया तो I was like, अच्छा, let me take the call. What has Nikkhil to say and something new? तो निखिल ने फोन करके सीधा सीधा बोला कि रानी, I have this script and I think there's nobody else who can do it but you. So I said, okay, so what is the story? So he just narrated me a one line about this real incident. He said कि ये कहानी जो मैं प्रोड्यूस कर रहा हूँ, ये रियल लाइफ इंसिडेंट से इंस्पायर करके हम फिल्म बना रहे हैं। और I said, अच्छा, तो क्या स्टोरी है? तो जब निखिल ने मुझे जिस्ट बोला कि एक माँ के दोनों बच्चे एक कंट्री के अथॉरिटीज़ ने कॉन्फिस्केट कर लिए है, तो मुझे एक्चुअली लगा कि निखिल मजाक कर रहा है। तो मैंने बोला ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है, हो ही नहीं सकता, मतलब व्हाट आर द बेसिस, चार्जेस क्या थे? तो जब उन्होंने चार्जेस बताए तो दोज वर ऑल थिंग्स दैट वी हैव ग्रोन अप विथ, विच इज़ अ कल्चर, कि हाथ से खाना खिलाना या साथ में सुलाना बिस्तर पर बच्चों को अप टू अ सर्टेन एज, फिर काला टीका लगाना। तो ये सब चीज़ें जब निखिल ने मुझे बोला तो मैं काफ़ी शॉक हो गई, और मैंने बोला अच्छा ठीक है निखिल, आप स्क्रिप्ट भेजिए एंड आई विल रीड द स्क्रिप्ट। बट मैं इतनी मतलब इमोशनली चार्ज्ड हो गई सुन के, तो आफ्टर आई केप्ट द फोन मैंने गूगल करना शुरू कर दिया एंड आई वेंट टू द रियल स्टोरी। एंड जब मैंने पूरा पढ़ा आई वॉज रियली स्टम्प्ड, और मुझे लगा कि ये फिल्म में किस तरह से स्क्रीन प्ले में बन के आएगा, क्योंकि कभी कभी कहानी अच्छी होती है लेकिन स्क्रीन प्ले फॉर्मेट में एक फिल्म में शायद निखर के नहीं आती एक स्टोरी। तो मुझे जानना था कि स्क्रिप्ट कैसी होगी। तो स्क्रिप्ट जब मैंने पढ़ा मुझे स्क्रिप्ट भी अच्छा लग गया। तो मैंने सोचा कि अच्छा ठीक है, मैं निखिल को ज़रा सा तोल मोल के देखती हूँ कि वो कितना मुझे चाहता है फिल्म के लिए। तो मैंने निखिल को बोला कि निखिल देखो, मेरे साथ काम करना आपको बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट होगा, क्योंकि अभी मैं एक माँ हूँ और मैं दूसरे एक्टरों की तरह ज़्यादा घंटे नहीं दे सकती आपको, क्योंकि मेरी जो प्रायोरिटी है वो मेरी बच्ची है। तो आप एज अ प्रोड्यूसर आप शायद वो मतलब झेल नहीं पाएंगे जो मेरे खुद के पति झेलते हैं। तो निखिल ने बोला नहीं नहीं, जो तुम्हारा टाइम है हम उसी टाइम पे काम करेंगे। ऐसा अच्छा, निखिल तो हर चीज़ पे हाँ हाँ बोले जा रहा है, मुझे मौका ही नहीं दे रहा है कि मैं ना बोल सकूं। तो फिर मैंने बोला अच्छा ठीक है, पर तुम मुझे मेरे पति की तरह प्यार दे पाओगे? तो निखिल ने बोला मैं तो कुछ कुछ होता के टाइम से प्यार करता हूँ। तो बोले ठीक है, तो वो भी ठीक है,
तब से भी झेलते ही आ रहा है।
तो फिर on a more serious note, I think Nikhil has always stood for quality, like what films that he's produced till now. I think he has a very good reputation in the industry, that he takes up films which, you know, make a difference. And he takes films which have a very hard-hitting subject. And he's not, like he's quite fearless in terms of being a producer. Sometimes you can get into a lot of trouble working in films that are slightly controversial. But Nikkhil, I've seen, has never shied away from producing films like that. And I knew that technically he's going to be fantastic. So obviously the way he'll make the film will have a certain quality, it'll have a taste. So for me it was a no-brainer completely. And then of course Nikkhil said that the director is Ashima. Ashima is somebody who I've seen in YRF for so many years, because she's done her first film, Mere Dad Ki Maruti, with Yashraj Films. So I've met her a couple of times, I've bumped into her, and it's always been a very nice chat with her, though I've never worked with her before, and we had nothing in common. But she was always very warm, and she's been always this bright girl that I've seen. And when she decided to become a single parent, she came to see me. And I thought that that was a very brave move from her part, that she decided to become a mum all by herself, which was a very brave thing. And I remember being very proud of her in my heart, and I was like, hats off to this girl for doing something like that. Because being a single parent in a country like Bombay is tough. So I already had a lot of respect for her as a mother, as a girl, as a person who's trying to make it on her own in this city. And when I spoke with Ashima, I realized that she's very, very passionate about this story, because she's spoken to Sagarika, she has done so many calls with her, she was very involved with the subject. So I think when a director is so passionate about a story, I think that love translates into the film. So for me, I think it was just that Nikkhil, I've known because he was there from the first time I met you, Karan. Yeah. So for me, it was just an extension of, I would say, Dharma and, Yashraj. So MA is actually just an extension, and that is what he promised me before I started the film. He says, Rani, I've been under Karan, I've been under Adi, I've worked with them, so you won't feel a difference. And you're right.
In fact, Nikkhil, my next question is to you, because true life stories are always so empowering and inspiring. And MA Entertainment has now raised the bar in terms of content, and has put out such prolific content and such strong, unusual, diverse content, not only in the theatrical space, but also in the digital domain. How did this story of Sagarika Chakraborty reach your table?
I don't know, Karan. I think that after having gone through a huge journey of what I wanted to do myself and what my voice should be as a filmmaker, right? Having learned under you, having learned under Adi, trying Salam Ishq and trying Patiala House, and then basically when D-Day, I remember when I showed D-Day, remember you were the first person outside the team that made D-Day who saw it, and I remember your words to me was that all your red lines have now been wiped out with this film. So I think that it's important for when we are a company like MA to gravitate towards what it believes, right? And what we believe in really, what Monisha likes to watch and what I like to watch and what Madhu likes to watch, is this really real space kind of, we also like to want to watch a Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and nobody's making it anymore. I'm so glad you're making Rocky and Rani. But I'm saying, so when it came, I think it was sent to us. Ashima sent it to the head of development in MA, and then it sent to me. It was a Sunday. I read it, and I called up Monisha and I said, listen, whatever you're doing, put it down. For the next 3 hours, just read this. Just read this. And she messaged me something that I can't actually sing, So she said, we have to do this film. And then everything was just started falling into place. I think the first thing that we know now is always that we have to make sure that what can't we do? when the title is so compelling of this film, Mrs. Chatterjee Vs Norway, it's like almost makes you sit up and think, what is this film about? And just like in the case of Airlift, where when the director of Airlift narrated it to us, I said that how is it possible that 177,000 Indians were stuck in a country and nobody knows about the fact that 498 planes went to bring them back? The first thing that occurred to me was, how come this happened in 2011 and nobody knows about it? Yes, of course, it had already become, in 2021, 10 years later, it had become a footnote. This mother's struggle had become a footnote, right? So we just said we have to do it, and we started talking, we signed Ashima, and we went on from there. I mean, it became quite this thing.
In fact, I think मेरा जो initial reaction था जब मैं फिल्म देख रहा था, मुझे अभी भी याद है कि emotions भर भर के थे, लेकिन एक गुस्सा भी आया था, you know, against a system, against certain rules, and I feel like ये picture जो है, it's not just going to be a theatrical, beautiful, emotional film. I feel it's going to hit home, I hope, in more ways than one. Rani, being a mother yourself, I'm sure was part of your emotional training without you even realizing it. You are such a protective mother. I've seen that literally in front of my eyes. And you're playing a Bengali lady fighting for her children. It's like this story was already born inside of you, and you just were waiting for the right opportunity. What did you do to kind of, did you interact a lot with Sagarika, or did you not? Did you want to kind of, that's the first part of the question, did you want to kind of internalize this character and do it your way? Secondly, in terms of the Bengali nuances, though you are Bengali yourself, but did you lean on anyone or anything to portray Mrs. Chatterjee? Because in many ways, she's very different from you as well. In terms of her background, in terms of her own demeanor, she's not Rani Mukherjee. She is Mrs. Chatterjee, and that's what you became. When you see the film, I didn't see Rani Mukherjee in one frame. I just saw Mrs. Chatterjee. So these two, again, I reiterate, the first part was like, did I meet Sagarika? Did you meet Sagarika a lot? And secondly, how did you infuse the Bengali nuances into your character?
So I have not yet met Sagarika.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
I have not yet met Sagarika.
You've never met Sagarika?
No, I have never met Sagarika.
This is a shock to me, literally.
Yeah, so I've never met
And never
Sagarika.
spoken to her?
No, I've not spoken to her.
You've not spoken to her, you've not met her?
No. Because I think as an actor, what I wanted to bring to the table is something that I thought would be my interpretation of Mrs. Chatterjee's character. I didn't want too much of a baggage because she's very much there. So I didn't want people to find similarities or, say that this is similar, that is similar. For me, the story of Mrs. Chatterjee was about Mrs. Chatterjee, and I had to play it not knowing that this has actually happened. I had to play it cinematically for this film. I knew the emotions she went through because I sat with Ashima, I think 1,000,000 times over the script, and I went through it with her and what her emotions were, in terms of what Sagarika's emotions were. Ashima had a lot of tapes that she had recorded of Sagarika chatting with her, so I went through a lot of those tapes where I started to understand and I grabbed what her emotions are. Because that was what was very important for me for the character, that I need to understand her emotional graph because of what she's actually been through.
Right.
Because it was a struggle, it was frustration, it was anger, it was the loneliness, it was the mother's love, it was so many things. So I wanted to know what headspace was Sagarika in during that period and what is she today? And what has this journey of this fight made Sagarika into today. So I went through that. But when it actually came to performing and becoming the character, the only person that came to my mind was my mom. And I have no qualms to say it, that I have just taken my mother and put her into Mrs. Chatterjee. Because my mom is raised...
I saw that. That's why I asked
that?
you. I saw that.
Yeah.
I was like, this is Krishna auntie, like she's portraying her mother.
So actually for me, someone who is so connected to her roots. There is nobody else that I know more than my mother. My mother got married to my dad 50 years ago, and she came to Bombay. She's born and brought up in Calcutta. She got married when she was 21. But she is such a Bengali in her, the way she is as a person, the way she eats, the way she talks. Even when after 50 years of being in Bombay, when she speaks in Hindi, she sounds like a Bengali. When she speaks in English, she sounds like a Bengali. So I think if you're once a Bengali in West Bengal, born and brought up in West Bengal, you'll always be that. And whenever you speak to anybody from Calcutta, West Bengal, you'll see them having a flair of that Bengali accent, which never leaves them. And I think that is spectacular for me, because my mom, living in Bombay, has not been able to leave her roots away. You know, she's still very connected to her roots. And whatever impression I had of my mom growing up, the way she is, Bengali tigress, the way she has fed us with her hands, you know, the way she used to talk to us, the way she has given us love. I think it was, when I read the character of Mrs. Chatterjee, for me it was all along like my mother. Like I was imagining my mother, what would happen if somebody would have taken Raja and me away from her. And I could imagine my mom going completely nuts.
You know, it takes me back to the moment when I saw the film and I was so shaken and moved and triumphant, of course, in the end. I have an adat, you know, I have twins at home and I'm a single parent. Hamesha I say, you know, whenever my children are looking very pretty, I say kala tika laga do.
Yes.
My daughter has a habit sometimes that she doesn't eat and I have to make her physically eat with my hands. Yeah. We say Saturday ko nazar utaro. It's embedded in our culture. And when I saw the film and I reached home and Yash and Ruhi were standing there and I just had tears in my eyes looking at them because I'd just seen Mrs. Chatterjee Vs Norway and I were like, what if one day somebody just comes और मेरे बच्चे को घर से ले जाए? क्योंकि हमारी tradition, हमारी inherent culture, हमारी parenting instinct जो है, उनकी वजह से कोई अगर हमारे बच्चों को ले जाए. And it takes me to my favorite. I think this is your best performance to date. I have to say it on record. It is your best performance to date. And I hope the world notices what I have. And I'm sure the world will on the 17th of March. That moment when it's decided in court कि आप तभी मिल पाओगे अपने बच्चों जब वो 18 साल के हो जाएं. The way you react in that moment, it's like it took me back to a moment, a YRF film called Mashal, where Dilip Kumar bangs on the taxi and says, you know, like, stop. He needs a car because of his wife who's dying. That time, that scene had given me goose flesh. And the second time, in my cinematic memory, where I got goose flesh, is when I saw your reaction, where literally you were sliding, your feet were sliding on the floor while they're trying to hold you back. What was the prep, or did you just go with your gut in that moment, taking and internalizing the circumstance?
I think for me, Mrs. Chatterjee Vs Norway is a very, very personal film in that sense. Because I think every parent, every mother, every father, every person who has a mother will connect with this story like it hits you in your gut. Like for me to bring about Sagarika's emotions in the film, what she must have been through, was a huge responsibility. That I wanted to portray the pain that this mother is feeling. I wanted everybody in the audience to feel that pain, to feel that sense of loss. Because if I as a mother had to put myself in that place, I don't think I had the courage to even think that. Like if I had to put myself in that place of Sagarika, I don't think I can even fathom that idea of like Adira being away from me. Like I can't fathom it. So I had to put my mother in my place. Like I had to think of my mom.
And
how she would behave if somebody took me and Raja away. Because I didn't have the courage to think about Adira.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, it was beyond for me to even go through that pain. Because it is a pain which is numbing. Like a mother can literally have a heart attack and die.
Yeah.
It's that kind of a pain for a parent. So for me, every scene in the film was, I think, how do I put it? It's not a scene that I've performed. I think I've lived those scenes. You know, I've
It's
lived
very
those
evident.
shots.
It's very evident.
Yeah, I've
In
like
that
lived-
particular scene when they're dragging you and you're literally sliding your feet on the floor because you don't want to move from there. I just felt that at some point, every actor goes through that feeling on a certain moment of a film where you stop acting and you start living that moment.
So for me, it was
And
all
I
the
thought
scenes.
that's what you did throughout. You lived Mrs. Chatterjee. In fact, to the extent that it may have taken you a while to get that character out of your system. Am I right? Or did you switch off?
No, I think I've still not switched off from the film.
Yeah.
Because I think each time I hear people talk about the film, or if I see the promo of the film, or if I watch the film, for me it's always Sagarika in my head. And it's about all the mothers or parents who are separated from their children for whatever reason. And that makes me really sad. And I feel the representation of this film, or the reason why this film is actually made, is because there has to be a bigger purpose for it, more than even a box office success. The purpose of this film is bigger than a box office success because it needs to create awareness.
Yeah.
It needs to create awareness amongst people who don't know about these cases, who don't know about these stories which are happening day in and day out outside our country. There are numerous parents who are suffering this, whether Indian, whether of other nationalities, but they are suffering this. And for me, I just hope that this film can bring about a certain awareness with the right people who have the right power to be able to do something about it.
Which brings me to you, Nikhil. When you announced this film, based on the true story of Sagarika Chakraborty, maybe it was a footnote in history, but the authorities who need to know knew the story. Did you get any kind of, was there any backlash? Is there any kind of backlash from Norway? Has there been any kind of people reaching out and saying, why are you telling this story? Because it does portray that aspect of the country in a negative light. So did you at all receive any kind of backlash from anywhere?
No, none, nothing. In fact, we
So
decided.
any plans for Norway?
Yeah, so in fact, we decided to shoot. We actually preempted, or we assumed. Karan, we assumed that Norway will not want us to shoot in this film over there.
Yes.
So it was lockdown. It was pandemic. The pandemic was just getting over. Lockdown was just getting over. We were supposed to shoot in March. It kept moving on till August. I remember, and we finally went and shot it in Estonia. When we were going to shoot in Estonia, everything is set. We got a letter from the Norwegian High Commission saying that that was the first communication that came, saying that, Norway, Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway, we are going to Estonia to shoot. Rani Mukherjee's first film outside Yashraj. That usual kind of a press note came out, and the Norwegian High Commission calls us up and says that, why are you not shooting in Norway?
Wow.
Right? Because we are completely, we have freedom of expression. And you should come over
My
and
second
shoot.
shock moment of this interview, one is you've never met Sagarika, and one is that Norway themselves has reached out, where the title very
Clearly,
explicitly
exactly.
says
Yeah,
Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway. Well, great. I mean, I think, as I said, this film is much more than just an emotional, beautiful, cinematic experience. It's also an emotion and a movement in many ways. But more than anything else, I'd like the audiences to know this, and everyone, members of the media, to know कि ये इस पिक्चर की जो खासियत है वो है कनेक्टिविटी. वो आप इस फिल्म से जो भी चाहो, आप जो भी हो, आप माता हो, पिता हो, भाई हो, बहन हो, जो भी हो, कोई तो रिश्ता आपका होगा, वो आप इमीडिएटली इस फिल्म से रिलेट कर पाओगे, क्योंकि ऐसा लगता है कोई आपका अपना आपसे छीन के जब चला जाता है, फॉर नो रीजन, नो फॉल्ट, there's nothing worse than that. So I just feel like ये वो फीचर फिल्म है जो डीपली कनेक्ट करेगा to every member of an audience, everywhere, every single place. Now, before I come to a surprise that we have for you, Rani, I wanted you to know.
I hope it's a surprise and not a shock.
No, darling, why will I shock you?
Since we have shocked you twice.
Yes, now I don't want to.
Back.
I'll give it back to you, yeah. No, this is a surprise, I promise. Okay. Before we reveal the surprise to you.
It's a reveal.
It's a watch.
Oh, it's a watch.
It's a watch. But you're asking too many questions before I get to mine. I know you.
Actually, this is the first time you and me are sitting and doing something like this over a film.
Over a film, we haven't. Yes, we've
Yeah.
done it over cups of coffee.
Yeah.
But we haven't done it for a film.
and we did it last
and I
for Kuch
and I
Kuch
want to
Hota
tell
Hai.
you, when I read the announcement, I was mildly jealous because I was like, why is Rani not doing a Dharma production film? Like, this is like not fair. Though we won't tell everybody in the audience who sabotaged a certain Dharma production film we were going to do. We won't get into that.
But see, at least now people know that if they get me a good script, I'll work anywhere.
Yes, it's
just
a great,
rumor
it's
that
a great
they've spread
statement
about
out
me.
there. Because half the time people believe like you just won't do anything
Yeah, but
besides.
my husband works with so many other actresses.
And we
Why
were-
should I not work with other producers?
Good and rightfully
What
said.
is
Well
this?
done. Give it up for Rani Mukherjee, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. And what was the husband's reaction was my question to the film.
To this film?
Yes.
Oh my God. He was deeply moved. I think obviously after he's become a father also. He was
And the
actually,
great thing is now
he
we
was
can.
in shock.
So before you give your answer, it's wonderful for everyone who's seen the romantics. We finally know that he exists, and that there is a person called Aditya Chopra who sits on the 4th floor of Yashraj Studios. And now when we talk about him, it's not like he's the Loch Ness monster that we don't know if he exists or not. So yes, this person who actually exists in flesh and blood. What did he say?
So he was actually quite shocked seeing the film. And he was very deeply moved, which I don't think I've seen him so moved in any film. The last I think I saw him that moved was when Yash uncle passed away. Yeah, when he saw the film, I think he was like, because he's a parent today, so obviously it will, like it hit,
Yeah.
like, and then he was very sweet. He just behaved like he didn't even give me like a front hug. He gave me like a side hug as if I am his child. And he said, well done. So I was like, okay, thank you. So
Well,
it was-
that's more than Adi normally expresses, I want to say. At least you got a side hug.
yeah, I got like a side hug, like as if he's hugging maybe one of his so many children that are there in YRF, who he's grooming.
And I'm to waiting for that side hug when he says well done. It hasn't arrived in the last 30 years.
So yeah, so it was quite a moment because yeah, Adi's very like he praises me behind my back. I think if he praises me in front of my back, he'll just think कि मेरे घर की लक्ष्मी मेरे सर पे डांस करने लगेगी. He tries to avoid that situation. He says ज़्यादा नहीं बोलूँगा तो better है. But I think he couldn't stop himself. But I think he was really moved. To my shock. Like, I didn't realize that he would get so moved seeing the film.
Well, shocked and moved takes me to the surprise that I have for you.
Karan, there's one more thing I'd like to say.
Yes.
Since I'm talking to everybody here and the entire media is here, I would really like to say that the shoot of Mrs. Chatterjee versus
Yes.
Norway happened in very trying times, as we discussed during COVID. And I want to say that the team in Estonia were really so well organized. The team there that we shot in, the entire shoot happened so well. So MA Films, Z Films, and of course Cuba Films, 3 of them, because it was the shoot was supposed to be happening in a bubble, and it was the first time that I ever worked like that, apart from the shoot that I did for Bunty Bubbly 2 just few months back. But this was about an entire film that we're shooting outside the country. But it just went off so well. It's one of my most memorable shoots because obviously my daughter was with me. She was doing homeschooling there because it was homeschooling. So whatever happens with Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway on 17th of March, regardless of what the outcome is, I would like to say that it's going to be one of my most memorable films in my career for more reasons than one. So thank you very much for bringing this experience to me, and thank you Ashima for thinking for me for Mrs. Chatterjee, and thank you Nikkhil for thinking that I would do it in spite of being bogged down by the rumors that I don't do outside films. Thank God you called.
I remember I finally sent her a message that Rani, I just finished watching the DI and it's without sound and I'm still crying. And she messaged me back, who is this? Because she said that till today you are exactly like Adi, you have never ever said good, how you're doing, you're so good, you're so, I just send a random message, who is this?
You don't have Nikhil's number fed in your phone?
No, I have, but I was not believing that it's Nikhil's message. I thought
okay.
somebody's doing a prank. I thought his daughter or somebody must have taken the phone and just written some random message to see my reaction.
Well, I mean, I can assure everyone in the audiences that
No, I just hope you all feel the same.
No, everybody will. I can give you
also
that.
touch wood.
I can give you a cinematic assurance. As I said, this is undoubtedly your best performance to
Thank you,
date.
Karan.
But I'm sure there are many more to come.
Yes, and especially the ones coming from Dharma.
Yes, if someone doesn't stop me, if I don't get stopped on the
You
way.
have to just call me directly. Nikhil, call me directly.
Yes, I made a mistake of actually not calling you directly last time. Anyway, this is a surprise. I don't want to say anything more. You will see it for yourself at a screen behind
Okay,
you.
firstly, I want to ask them, are you guys going to watch the film in the theatres or no?
Yes, of course they will. Now what's your surprise? Yes, I'm presuming it's popping here. Sagarika not only saw the film, but we even saw her reaction while watching it. And it's just, when I saw this also, it was just heartbreaking because sometimes, you know it's your real life story. It's surreal to watch it enacted, but it's also you're reliving it. And it's never easy. It's never easy. I mean, for her to kind of go through the beats of that part of her life, as a mother you would know. But just her reaction, Rani, what do you have to say about just her reaction? It seemed just like heartfelt, organic, and just out there.
Yeah, it's quite a surprise for me, and I don't know how to react actually. I can just say that I'm happy and relieved that she thinks the way she's thought, because it's her story, it's her struggle, and if she's given me full marks, then that's a very good beginning for me for this film.
And what is the first thing that you would say to her whenever in life you met her? And I hope you can meet her soon.
I don't know, I'm getting emotional now, I don't know why.
Because you just saw the mother watch it.
Yeah.
What would you want to say to Sagarika?
Just as a mother, I just want to tell her that I feel you and I understand what you went through.
Then tell her. Then tell her. Tell her, Rani.
Yeah, I'm telling her that.
No, but she's here. Tell
Where? Where is she?
her. She's here. Tell
Shut
her.
up.
She's here.
No. Oh my God.
ये पल ऐतिहासिक है और मैं आपसे कहना चाहूंगा क्यों है। बहुत बार हमारे सिनेमा में लाइफ स्टोरीज, ट्रू लाइफ स्टोरीज दर्शाए गए हैं, लेकिन हमेशा जब भी वो इंसान है जो जीवित है, उनकी मुलाकात हमेशा हुई है उस आर्टिस्ट के साथ जिन्होंने वो किरदार निभाया है। ये शायद पहली बार ऐसा हुआ है कि रानी मुखर्जी ने ये किरदार निभाया है मिसेस चैटर्जी का, लेकिन उन्होंने कभी पर्सनली उनकी मुलाकात सागरिका से नहीं हुई थी।
So cute, Sagarika. So cute.
तो यू आर ऑल्सो वेरी क्यूट, डोंट वरी। एंड यहाँ इन दोनों को मिलाना, thank you to MA, to Z.
I'd like all of you all to clap for Sagarika. She is the true heroine. How she fought for her children.
सागरिका, आपको जब आपको अपनी जिंदगी की कहानी दिखाई गई तो हमने आपका रिएक्शन देखा, लेकिन आप कुछ कहना चाहोगे कि आपकी वो फीलिंग क्या थी?
एक्चुअली मेरे साथ जो हुआ है, एक्चुअली जब मेरे बच्चे को उधर से उठा ले गई थी, जो रिएक्शन रानी मैम ने दिखाया, वो मेरा पुराना याद पूरा वापस आ गया। और सबसे बड़ी बात ये मैं बोलना चाहती हूँ, एक मम्मी के लिए एक बच्चा सब कुछ है, और रानी मैम पूरी तरीके से उसको निभाया, और फिल्म में जो भी दिखाया गया वो बिल्कुल सही है। और आई डोंट हैव एनी वर्ड्स एक्चुअली, बिकॉज रानी मैम इज पोर्ट्रेटिंग माई कैरेक्टर वेरी ब्यूटिफुली, वेरी ब्यूटिफुली। इवन मैंने जब ये फिल्म देख रही थी, मैं इतना इमोशनल हो गई थी, तो मैं समझ नहीं पा रही थी कि मैं क्या बोलूं। मैं उसके अंदर में घुस गई, ऐसे लग रहा है कि मैं दौड़ रही हूँ।
और मैं ये जानना चाहूंगा कि आप अभिज्ञान और ऐश्वर्या को, ये फिल्म आपके जो दोनों बच्चे हैं, आप कब दिखाना चाहोगे?
मैं तो दिखाना चाहती हूँ, क्योंकि पता नहीं है वो बच्चे भी रोएंगे देखने के बाद।
नहीं, हम नहीं चाहते कि वो रोए। इनफैक्ट उनके लिए ये एक वाकई एक बहुत गर्व की बात है कि उनके घर में ऐसी एक माँ है जो आप है। आपको बहुत तहे दिल से हम शुक्रिया भी करना चाहते हैं और आपको सम्मानित भी करते हैं, और आपको ये कहना चाहते हैं कि ऐसी माँ हर किसी बेटे को जन्म।
थैंक यू करण सर।
और मैं रानी से आखिर में ये कहना चाहूंगा कि रानी ने जिस तरह इस किरदार को दर्शाया है, निभाया है, बहुत कम एक्टर्स होते हैं जो आंखों से, दिल से, अपने पूरे जिस्म को उस परफॉर्मेंस में डाल देते हैं। और रानी, जो यू हैव डन, यू जस्ट ब्लू माय माइंड एज अ फिल्म मेकर।
और एक बात मैं कहना चाहती हूँ, मैं जब छोटे थे, मैं कुछ कुछ होता है देखा था, तो रानी मैम कुछ कुछ होता है या गुलाम।
आप तो कितने छोटे थे?
क्लास 10 में पढ़ते थे। क्लास 10 में।
हाँ, मैं भी क्लास 12 में पढ़ती थी तभी।
सेम एज का है, थोड़ा 4 साल का इधर उधर है। मैं 40 अभी 40 इयर्स का मदर हूँ। तो वही मैं बोलना चाहती हूँ।
ये बोलना जरूरी था
ना, बोलना जरूरी है।
आपकी तारीफ कर लिया, फिर देखो आपने हमारी उम्र का आईना हमें दिखा दिया।
हाँ, थोड़ा बोलना चाहिए, क्योंकि मेरा सबसे फेवरेट एक्ट्रेस जो है रानी मुखर्जी, वो मेरे किरदार सच में निभा रही है। ये मेरे लिए एक बड़ा चीज़ है। मैं कभी सोच भी नहीं सकी, जिसको मैंने फिल्म में देखा वो आज मेरे सामने है। ये मेरे लिए एक बड़ा चीज़ है, मैं मरते दम तक नहीं भूलूंगी। थैंक यू सर, ये आपके लिए और अशीमा मैम।
I would like to take this moment, this very, very special moment, to speak about the power of storytelling and content creation. And we spoke about how MA has maxed that to perfection with what they've done. I'd like to take a moment to talk about an illustrious studios, these studios that is doing such incredible work in the zone of entertainment, to speak about our very, very talented and exceptional Ashima Chiba, who has actually told the story with so much beauty and nuance. So the two powerhouses of MA, I won't say three because Nikkhil also know the real powerhouses lies in the two ladies, Madhu Bhojwani and Monisha Advani. I'd like them to be on stage with us, please. I'd like to call the exceptional filmmaker Ashima Chiba on stage.